Adding shadows inside your design is a great visual trick to add some interest. Unfortunately, with Canva as it stands at the moment, there's no one-click button that will simply add a shadow. So I want to walk you through a couple ways to add in shadows, both just using Canva and then a couple other cheats I can give to you as well. So if we hop into Canva here, let's start off with the easiest way, which is to cheat. And specifically what I mean, if you check out the attachments for this lesson or go to my website at justenough.design, you'll see this shadow pack. All this is a set of transparent PNGs that fade out to transparent on the back from dark that you can arrange to add a shadow to anything inside of Canva. So you would just download the pack, unzip it, and then upload to your upload section, and then simply add it in. So they come in a host of different versions. We have a full square one. So if you want to have a shadow around the entire square, so pop everything out, and this is again just a PNG. You can move around whatever you want. If you want to just snap it to the bottom, I have these ones where it's cropped. It'll just snap right to the bottom there. You can see the kind of cool effect where all of a sudden it's as if it's popping up off of it. A quick trick for using these two, make use of the transparency. If that shadow's a bit too harsh, if you want to really soften it up, consider just reducing the transparency. And then also have it sit behind so that you don't get weird lines at the bottom as the shadow is going against it. In addition to, I have these circle ones. Now that works really well let's grab that there. It's a different type of effect, as if the item is floating kind of in 3D space. Let's go to send it back. Right? Or if you are even working with a circle, now that also comes in a cropped version, so you can just kind of snap it to the back. And adds kind of almost an additional dimension to it. And again, if you want to take off some of the edge and make it transparent. So that's the easy, cheap, cheating way to do so. Actually, I did want to show it against this Canva logo here. It's really cool when you add a circle shadow to kind of a circle element and just makes it look like it's floating right there in space. I really love that effect. Very cool, very interesting. So that's a cheater way to do it. So download pack, it's a shadow pack. It's attached to this lesson here as an attachment. You can also go to my website, Just Enough Design, grab it, totally free download. But let's say you want to know how to do it, or you don't have these shadows handy for some reason. Once you do upload it, they'll be in your uploads forever, but let's talk about some other ways to cheat at shadows. So one way is to just accept that it's not going to be a nicely shaded version, so it won't fade out to nothing. But if you grab whatever you're trying to add a shadow to, copy and paste, make it a kind of a darker gray, and then add some transparency to it, however much you would need. And I would suggest reducing it a little bit, and then you can kind of place it behind. So I'll do this, I'll send it back. Because it's gray, I'm going to change the color. It's going to show up a little bit better against the color. There you have it. So you can reduce that even a little bit further. It tends to be a bit of a sharp or harsher shadow, but it definitely can work in a pinch, where you just take the shape, darken it, and add it to the back. Yeah, this is probably about the best way to show that off. So it ends up being a kind of harsh shadow. It makes it look as if it's a really sunny day, and it's a very strong shadow. And then you can play with how dark it gets. Going full almost makes it more like a border as opposed to a shadow. But that's one small way to do that. You can see that too here with the circle. If we go ahead for elements, we find ourselves a circle. And the same thing, that's not a bad gray to start with. Make it a little bit smaller and position it. Let's send it to the back. And immediately already looks like a bit of a shadow. But you just reduce that transparency to help it fade a bit better and make it look as if the logo itself is popping off the page. Not as refined, but there's a certain interest with having that sharp shadow as opposed to the faded out ones in the shadow pack I suggest you download. So that's one way to do it, and not too shabby. Now if you did want to have a subtle gradient, and just quickly, just to kind of finish this previous thought, let's make this dark. There it is. I'm going to move it down to the bottom, transparent. There. Okay, so now it's kind of looks like it has a shadow. Not a bad way to do it. However, what if you did want to add a kind of softer flow to it? And especially if it's a kind of a weird shape like this as well. Well, this gets into a trick that I will talk about in a bit, an advanced trick, but it's super useful to see here. So what I suggest you do is whatever shape you want to add a shadow to, as long as it's on a flat background. That's one of the keys here. If you have Canva Pro, you are able to download this shape with transparency. But in the case where we have it free here, you're unable to download a transparent image. You have to download it with a color. But if this shape is on top of a color already, we can use that and then do this trick. If you have, again, if you have Pro and you can download transparent, I suggest you do it that way. It gives you a lot more flexibility. Then you can put the shape on top of any photo or anything else. I'll show you what I mean here. So duplicate it. Take the shape. Suggest you go ahead and make it a darker color. Not necessarily required, but it does help. And then you want to download this. I'm going to call this shadow. Now this is page 3. I'll go to the top right, PNG. So here's a transparent option if you have Pro, which would just mean you don't have this white background. But because we're putting it on top of a white background, it doesn't matter. And I'll tell you what, actually, just to really drive that home. If you make this, let's say we make it that, I want to make it different from the shadow in front of it. Let's see. Make it a really light gray. I just don't want it to be the flat white. There we go. So it's a very soft gray, just to kind of drive home this fact. So page 3, shadow, let's download it. We will make it dark. Okay, so we took it, we duplicated it. It's the exact same shape, except we made it dark. Now we're going to download it. Page 3, download, page 3, shadow, and download. Call this shadow. There it is. Great. Now here's the original design. I'm going to take this shadow and just bring it in. So here it is the PNG. It shrunk down a bit when I brought it up, but that's not a problem. So it just snapped into the background. I don't want that to happen. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to go up to the, because now it's a photo, so as a vector image, I'm very limited in what I can do to this shape. I have no adjustments. I can't apply any of the photo filters to it. But because I downloaded it as a PNG, now I can make adjustments to it using the photo tools. And what that allows me to do, if I go to adjust, we have blur. So what we can do here is blur it out, right? And add as much or as little softening around the edges as we want. Then all I'll do is I'll send it back. And voila, we have a nice gradiated shadow. And you'll notice because the background is the same, it's the same gray, it's all going to blend nicely. You're not going to be able to notice it. Again, if you have Pro and you can download transparent, you can see how much more effective that would be, because for instance, if you had a photo, any photo really, but because it's not transparent, that's not going to work. So minor caveat there. But if you use it on a flat background like that, it's a really simple and easy way to add a bit of a shadow and create that really punching, cool effect. So as I said, so download the PNG from my website or from the pack here, and you can add any of these great shadows. Like I said, so it's a full rectangle pack. It's these nice cropped versions, so you can just snap it to the bottom of any element that you have. If we do, let's see what other elements we can add it to really quickly. Even the strawberry here, grab it, let's find one of the circle ones. Right, so the strawberry is now giving us this third dimension. It's floating in space, really kind of cool. If we take a photo, let's go down to this one here. Right, so just adding that extra dimension to the photo, having it like pop up, come across the page, looking really great. Now that was like with the entire square. More beneficial, of course, if you kind of use the shape to have the shadow going on all the edges on that one, or if you just take one of these ones that are snapped, so uploads, find one of your shadows that you've uploaded, place it there, place it on the bottom, and you can start to have a lot of fun seeing the different effects you can apply and have a really visually interesting design by adding a bit of shadow, either through my cheating images or through a trick I showed you with downloading and uploading. So see you in the next lesson.